You ever have one of those moments where your whole life shifts on a dime and you can practically hear the universe laughing at the mess people make out of something as simple as being neighborly? That's how it all started for us, my wife Helen and me, when the woman next door tried to force us into joining her precious HOA. I know you think I'm exaggerating, but you haven't met Linda Walsh. You know what I mean? This woman actually called the cops to make us join her little neighborhood club. No joke, police cruisers in my driveway, all because we said no to a bunch of rules about mailbox paint and hedge height. But what happened next? Let's just say Linda picked the wrong target. Now, Helen's the kind of woman you notice for all the right reasons, quiet, composed, runs on military time, even though she left the service 6 months back. We moved on to Maple Street because she wanted a backyard with real dirt under her fingernails, not some HOA manicured postage stamp. Our house was just outside the HOA line, grandfathered out since 1987. Nobody mentioned at closing that this invisible border would be the start of a Cold War, one that would blow up way bigger than anyone expected. At first it was little things, Linda fresh off a messy divorce and hungry for control, poking around with questions about Helen's transition to civilian life. You could feel her sizing us up, trying to figure out if we'd be easy marks. She had this legal assistant background, thought she knew the law inside out, and honestly, she probably saw Helen as some vulnerable vet ripe for her little power games. But Helen, let's just say she's forgotten more about strategy than Linda will ever learn from reruns of Law and Order. Linda dropped by one afternoon with this fat stack of papers, 47 pages, like she was serving a lawsuit instead of a welcome packet. I came home to Helen at the kitchen table reading it all with the kind of focus you see in bomb squads. Honey, she wants $2,000 to join their HOA. Helen said, voice so calm you'd think she was talking about the weather. But our deed's clear. We're not joining. She was taking notes, marking up the contract. Honestly, it looked more like an ops briefing than a neighborly discussion. Linda had no idea she was dealing with someone who reads legalese for fun. That's when Linda got creative. Official-sounding emails, mandatory compliance letters, threats about property values and community standards. Helen responded with city maps, old surveys, every legal citation you can imagine. The best part, she never raised her voice, never got rattled. She just outmaneuvered Linda at every turn like she was playing chess, and Linda was still figuring out checkers. I'd catch Helen looking at this display cabinet in the living room, always covered by a cloth, and wonder what she kept in there. Her calm always seemed deeper than what I could see. Linda wasn't the type to admit defeat. If anything, our resistance just made her meaner. She started measuring Helen's garden, trying to claim it was encroaching on HOA land, slapped us with a $750 violation, and demanded we pay up or tear it out. Helen stepped outside, papers in hand, and walked Linda through every inch of the property line until Linda had to slink away in front of everyone. You could see her losing control. She even started holding community safety meetings, roping in neighbors with stories about how outsiders like us threaten the status quo. But here's where the twist comes in. Turns out Helen was quietly talking to other folks Linda had bullied, building up her own little coalition of people tired of the HOA strong-arming them. She kept records, took notes, even reached out to city officials. The woman was building a case, while Linda was still trying to win a popularity contest. Then Linda pulled her ace. She decided if peer pressure wouldn't work, she'd get the authorities involved. She called the cops, told them Helen was an unstable vet with combat training, refusing to integrate with the community, painted her like a ticking time bomb. You could see her through the window, phone in hand, rehearsing what she'd say when the patrol cars showed up, probably dreaming about the moment Helen would be forced to back down. But Helen had been ready for this. That night, before I caught her making a phone call first time I ever heard her mention her father. Dad, neighbor situation's escalating, might need you soon, she said. Calm as you please. The next morning, she left that mysterious cabinet open just a crack. Inside, a Medal of Honor, A bronze star, a purple heart. I nearly dropped my coffee. 20 years of service, more commendations than I could count, and here was Linda acting like my wife was some clueless recruit. So when the police rolled up, one young, one old, both looking like they'd seen it all, they took one look at Helen, checked her ID, and I kid you not, snapped off the sharpest salute you've ever seen. You could practically hear Linda's brain short circuit. Her jaw hit the floor as the officers called dispatch, confirmed Helen's record, and addressed her as Sergeant Major. All that scheming, all those accusations, and now the whole block was watching two cops pay their respects to the woman Linda tried to humiliate. Linda tried to save face, kept yammering about community standards until Sergeant Brooks, the older cop, made it clear her call was being investigated for harassment and filing a false report against a decorated veteran. Then, like something out of a movie, the police chief himself pulled up. When he stepped out and greeted Helen with "Hello, sweetheart," you could feel the neighborhood go silent. Linda just about fainted the chief's daughter. She'd been harassing the chief's daughter, a Medal of Honor recipient. Word traveled fast. Neighbors came out, some apologizing to Helen, others just staring at Linda like she was radioactive. The cops started collecting statements, taking Helen's documented evidence, and it all snowballed: false reports, harassment, abuse of emergency services. By sunset, Linda was in handcuffs, her world crumbling as the news vans pulled up. "Woman harasses war hero over HOA dispute" was a headline no amount of spin could fix. But the real shock came in the days after. The HOA imploded, meetings packed, people sharing their stories of how Linda bullied them for years. She lost everything: her position, her reputation, even her job after the video went viral. Her family barely spoke to her. Meanwhile, Helen's story spread. Veteran organizations reached out. She spoke at events, even testified before Congress about protecting vets from harassment. Our neighborhood changed overnight. People actually talked to each other, started projects. Helen suggested turned into the kind of place you'd want to raise a family, not just park a car. Funny thing is, redemption finds people in strange ways. Linda, sentenced to community service at the VA, started helping wounded veterans, and something cracked open in her. A year later, she stopped me at the store, eyes full of tears, and just said, "I'm sorry." I told her the truth. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's what you do next that matters. Our block parties are legend now, whole community turning out to celebrate veterans' property values up, people proud to live here. Helen found peace, real peace, not just the absence of Linda's drama. And Linda, she changed too, gave quietly to veteran charities, helped where she could. Maybe some scars never fade, but everyone deserves a chance to be better. So if you're watching this thinking HOA drama can't get any crazier, think again. This is America. Heroes don't always wear uniforms, and bullies sometimes get the lesson of a lifetime. Real power. It isn't found in rule books or threats. It's in service, sacrifice, and lifting others up. Drop a comment below. Whose side are you on? And what do you think can people really change? Because in this neighborhood, we learned the hard way what real community means. And it all started the day a bully tried to mess with the wrong hero.